reporting for the Dallas Evening News. Today, there was a protest against the Mormon temple in Dallas consisting of dozens of Native Americans and others that oppose and condemn the Mormon religion. Leading the protest is a woman named Carla Jenkins. Miss Jenkins, please explain why you are attacking the Mormons. Don't they have a right to their religion?
Of course, but the same First Amendment that grants them the right to their religion also grants us the right to publicly protest what they stand for.
And what exactly are you against?
A few months ago, a friend of mine loaned me a Book of Mormon and I tried to read it. I was shocked at all the racist passages in it. The book clearly describes people with black skin as being cursed by God and people with white skin as delightsome in the eyes of God. To me, that is nonsense. Darker skin colors evolved in some people as a means of tolerating excessive sunlight. Calling people inferior for their skin color is like calling people inferior for having blue eyes instead of brown.
Wow. Is she thinking of us in saying that?
Well, I was the one who loaned her that Book of Mormon. I also learned that Mormons believe that Native Americans, including me, are descended from ancient Jews who left Asia around the time of the Babylonian captivity and then settled in North America. These Jews then split into two peoples, the Nephites, who were faithful to God, and the Lamanites, who were not faithful and were the ones God cursed with darker skin. After a few centuries of the two peoples fighting each other, Jesus appeared to them after his resurrection to preach to them. But his message was rejected and later the Lamanites exterminated the Nephites. All Native Americans came from the Lamanites.
Damn, and I thought the Jehovah's Witnesses were crazy.
It must be noted that there is absolutely no evidence for any of those stories told in the Book of Mormon. It is obvious that Joseph Smith made them all up.
And why would he do that?
To solve a theological dilemma Christians have been struggling with ever since the American continents were discovered. A basic claim of Christianity is that it is the only religion that can save people. But if that is true, why would entire peoples be left without either Jewish or Christian teachings before Columbus came to America? You can't damn people for something they never had a chance to learn about. So by depicting the Native Americans as having Jewish ancestry and even those ancestors denying the gospel and destroying those who were faithful to God, you solve the dilemma. But the dilemma would also be solved if you conclude Christianity is a false religion. And in that case, so is Mormonism, a branch of Christianity.
Thank you for your comments, Miss Jenkins.
This month, Debbie and Carrie both turn 18, so I want us to celebrate with them in a grand style. I want you to clear the restaurant tomorrow evening so we can have the party with only specially invited guests, just like we did for their wedding reception.
Do you want Police Chief Grimm to be our bouncer again?
I already asked her and she said she and her boyfriend Randall were going on vacation to Galveston, so she can't do it. But I will hire someone else for the job. I'll get that. Rebecca, is that you? What are you doing here? Is that any way to greet your oldest niece? We haven't seen each other since Grandpa died. So I got your home address from my father and came here to see you and my cousins Debbie and James. Are they here too? Oh, I'd love to hang out with Debbie again. She was so cute as a baby. You can't just show up at someone's house without prior notice. Anyway, I am busy. And Debbie is not here. Well, can you at least give me her address so I can see her, then? How about you talk to her first? I will give you her number. Hello, is this Debbie? Yes, and who is this? This is your cousin Rebecca. I guess you don't remember me, but I was at Grandpa's funeral when you were still a baby. After all these years, I am eager to reconnect with you. I miss you. I know your birthday is coming up, so I want to celebrate with you. I guess you already heard about the party being planned at the Tuscany Tavern. That's the restaurant my mother owns. Come here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and we can meet up. All right. It will be like old times. Debbie, did Rebecca call you? Yes. She asked about how I would celebrate my birthday and I told her about the party at the Tuscany Tavern. Oh, no. No. She shouldn't be there at all. What's wrong? You know that last letter I got from your Uncle Samuel confirming that your grandmother had died? Well, in that same letter he stated that he had banned his own daughter from the funeral. He said I would be more welcome than Rebecca. Why? Because she is known to be a troublemaker. She abuses other people's hospitality, borrowing money from them and never paying them back, crashing at others' places and not doing anything to earn her place like household chores, always demanding gifts from relatives and boyfriends. And even worse, despite never marrying, she slept with so many guys that she now has no less than 4 kids out of wedlock, all of whom she dumped on her parents while she continues to party. Mother, considering how your parents and others in the family scorned you for being atheist, are you sure we should be judging Rebecca so harshly? Maybe we should give her a chance with us. Well, it's your party, so. Is all going well?
I think so. Your mother told me about your cousin coming, and I added her to the list. But I was also warned that she might be trouble.
Well, I asked her to come, so I will take full responsibility of any mishaps. Ah, and here she comes.
Welcome to the Tuscany Tavern, Rebecca Smith.
Thank you. At what table is Debbie sitting at?
That one over there.
I'm so glad to be here, Debbie. We can have so much fun together. Excuse me? What are you doing in my seat? Your seat? I didn't see your name on it. You must be Carrie, Debbie's lover. Well, I'm her cousin by blood, so that makes me more important, doesn't it? One, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000.
You were right, Sandy. Your niece is already antagonizing people, including the birthday girls. Shall I summon the bouncer now?
Not yet. But you have him ready to act when I give the word. That was such a fantastic meal. The best chicken parmigiana I ever ate. That was from my order, Rebecca. Not to mention the other 2 dishes you made orders on and only ate part of. That's wasting food. Here is your bill, and your total is about $58. Will you pay with cash or a credit card? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I seem to have forgotten my wallet. Debbie, could you cover my bill for me? Please? What the hell? Mother was right about you. Bouncer, come here now.
Refusing to pay for a bill is grounds for being banned permanently from the restaurant. Get out now.
But I'm Debbie's cousin. Sandy's niece. Aunt Sandy, how can you just throw me out like this? We are family. I thought you would understand me, since I am also an outcast from the rest of the family. Don't pull the card on me. We are nothing alike. And family members should never screw others over the way you just did me and Debbie. You are just as terrible as your father said you were. And I never want to see you again. Now Jack, remove her. It's good to see you finally at your rightful place. I'm sorry my cousin was so horrible. Yeah, it is the nature of a narcissist like her to take and take and take from others and give nothing back. I'm just glad you are the polar opposite of her, Debbie. You are the sweetest and most beautiful lady I know.
Hello, may I speak to Mrs. Sims?
Yes, this is Jessica Sims. What can I do for you?
I am Michael Pell, the head of an adoption agency in Boston. I was reviewing some of the old records of the agency and came across a file referring to you and your wife, Lucy Sims. The file says you applied to adopt a child from us, but you were rejected for being lesbian.
That's right. Your predecessor 20 years ago was a homophobe, obviously. We later had a child naturally.
I am sorry you were discriminated against. Do you still want to adopt? We have a 12-year-old girl that we haven't been able to place with a family yet. Most adopting couples want a baby and not an older child. But this girl still deserves a family. In addition to her age, she is HIV positive.
Let me consult with my wife about this. One moment, please. Did you hear all that?
Yes. Now that Carrie is gone and we are only in our early 40s, I really don't like this feeling of an empty nest here. I'm ready to be a mother again. Let me speak to him. This is Lucy Sims. Jessica and I are willing to adopt this child. May I see a pic of her?
Sure. Transmitting now. Her name is Vicky Jackson.
You said she was HIV positive. Will there be extra expenses for medication?
If you have health insurance, it should cover the costs.
All right, we will take her. How soon will you be sending her here?
Our procedure is for one of you to come here to meet her first. But we will mail you the papers to certify the adoption so both of you can read and sign them before you bring them back here to Boston.
Thank you. So, who goes to Boston to get Vicky?
I'll go. I want to see my brother and Tara anyway. I know they have been busy with their new baby.
Right. Of course, you could ask them if they would adopt Vicky too, but that would be unrealistic. And I do want her.
Mrs. Sims, all the paperwork is in order and a background check confirms you and your wife both have clean legal records, so you are clear to adopt Vicky. Her name will now be legally changed to Vicky Sims. Congratulations, Vicky. You now have a new family.
Thank you. Sue. Do I call you mother now? I am your mother, Jessica. My wife will be your mother, Lucy. You also have a sister named Carrie who lives in Dallas and an uncle named Jonathan and an aunt named Tara who lives here in Boston. Hello, Uncle. Cute baby you have.
Yes. Her name is Helen. I'm glad to meet you before you go off to live in Texas. Welcome to the Sims family.
You are lovely, Vicky. I don't understand why no one else adopted you yet, but I'm glad you are with us now. May I hug you? Sure. Vicky, what's wrong? You seemed scared when Tara asked to hug you. You could have told her no. It didn't occur to me that I had a choice. I never did before. I am used to people forcing themselves on me, including my birth mother's boyfriends. They were constantly going in and out of my mother's home. And when they weren't having sex with her, they sometimes also wanted me. You were molested? I'm sorry. I was told your mother was a prostitute, but exposing a child to any of that crap is sickening. When I was 4 years old, my mother brought this old man to her apartment. He was going to have sex with her, but when he saw me he asked to do me instead and offered to double his pay to my mother. And she agreed. The man took me into my own bedroom and raped me, and that was how I lost my virginity. From then on, more and more men came and my mother would have them rape me. Until I was 7 and I was taken away from Mom and she went to prison. One of those men must have given you the AIDS virus. Anyway, when I was 15, I was myself raped by an older man, though my mother wasn't to blame for that. How did you recover from that? Even now, I sometimes feel like dying because of the memory of what I went through. I learned how to love myself more and find the kind of love I needed in my life. It took a long time, but I finally found my perfect love match and she saved me from being lonely. So you are lesbians? Well, I know I am straight. Does that matter? Not at all. Now let's get you home.
Mrs. Smith, for this scene you will be dressed as a female pirate, and you will be posing with a male model who will also be dressed as a pirate. And here is your co-star, Matt. Hello! I'm so glad to meet you. And how beautiful you look. I guess this is my lucky day.
You probably say that to all the models you work with, eh?
Perhaps, but that doesn't mean it is not true. Do you have a boyfriend?
No, I have a wife. And don't ask about my love life again. The last guy who did was trying to get in my pants. Even if I am not lesbian, that sort of crap is not appreciated.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to be rude. Enough, Matt. When a lady tells you to back off, don't question it. Debbie, let's get you into your costume.
All right, I am ready.
The cameras are ready too. Now, Debbie, slap him. What? What the hell is going on here?
You were set up by us to punish you for sexually harassing Janet last week. She told me all about it.
And she's not the first one who has complained about you to us, but she will be the last. Matt, you are fired. My lecture is titled How Should Unitarian Universalists Deal with Baha'is? Despite the outward similarities between Unitarian Universalism and the Baha'i faith, the two religious movements have profound differences in actual nature. First, be friendly, but reserved. Most Baha'is are genuinely loving for humanity in general, being ignorant of the actual failings of their own religion, just like the members of most other religious groups in the world. Second, be willing to work with Baha'is on issues you have in common, but only on your terms. They are decent allies against racism and for human rights in general, but they will avoid issues regarding gay rights, seeing gays as diseased.
Do I look sick?
Third, do not confront them about their falsehoods and failings of their religion, unless they actually try to convert you. Most Baha'is are not emotionally equipped to deal with the totality of the facts regarding why their religion is not suited for most people in the world. However, if a Baha'i does ask specific questions about why you reject the Baha'i faith, be honest. Do not sugarcoat the truth in such cases. Fourth, if you attend Baha'i gatherings, never go alone. Such events known as firesides, unity feasts and Baha'i holy day celebrations are designed to manipulate seekers into learning more about the faith, but they are profoundly one-sided in their depictions. People who are going through periods of depression or grieving over a loss may find themselves subjected to love bombing by Baha'is.
Dale, is that what happened to you before you became a Baha'i?
Yes, because at the time I was disappointed in the Unitarian Universalist Association for not doing enough to combat and purge white supremacy within itself, and the Baha'is seemed to be doing a much better job of fighting racism. That turned out to be false. And since 2017 the UU has finally addressed the problems that were damaging its credibility for so long. Anyway, continuing. Fifth, if a Baha'i wants to join a UU church as a Unitarian Baha'i, welcome him. Not all Baha'is are loyal to the Universal House of Justice, and those that want to think freely should be helped to find a place to do so. UU churches and fellowships are ideal for this.
Dale, I've been reading the stories you have written about your dealings with Baha'is via the internet. I was shocked at how treacherous they appeared to be. How can people who profess such an idealistic and beautiful religion be also so damn toxic?
Too often, people who are desperately trying to get something they consider to be good to be successful in gaining converts, and then ultimately reforming society delude themselves into thinking that the ends justify the means. So they do things that are shady to defeat their opponents. But if I was to take a dagger and stab a Baptist minister in the back to kill him and thus end his influence, would that make UIsm look better and the Baptists look evil? Or the other way around? That's why, for example, I am glad the Taliban took back control of Afghanistan. As long as those fanatics rule that country and treat Afghan women so horribly, critics of Islam can present them as why people should not convert to Islam.
Excuse me, Mr. Husband, but I joined a UU church in this city after I was told that UUs were not anti-Muslim. Are you saying UUs are against Islam?
Madam, I can only speak for myself, but while I will always defend the right of Muslims like you to practice their religion in peace, I also pull no punches in condemning the hypocrisy and bigotry I see in Islamic states like Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, or Pakistan. You allow any religion to have too much political power in the nation, the result will be tyranny. As a person of Christian background, I know the history of my original religion all too well to accept any Christian state. The only states in the world we should accept are secular ones.
I still don't like how that sounds. As an atheist, I know I would be scorned and persecuted in an Islamic state. But there is a place for me in the UUA. If the UUA welcomes both of us, then you must allow for individual UUs like me and Dale to reject and argue against Islam. Otherwise, we would not be truly welcome here. No one, not even Dale, is saying you are wrong for being Muslim. We just oppose Islamic supremacy, just as we must oppose white supremacy.
I see. My father was attacked and badly beaten by a mob a few days after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, so whenever I hear criticism of Islam, it makes me think of my father.
Your father's rights were violated. People, including Muslims, must have rights in a secular society, not ideas like Islam. When you make any idea above criticism, you destroy the integrity of the society that idea exists in.
Vicky, what's wrong? You look so heartbroken. Did something happen to you at school?
No, Mother Jessica. I don't think this is something you can help me with either.
Try me. Let's at least talk about it.
Mother Jessica, do you want any more children?
No, I haven't made plans to adopt any more. Why?
Well, I find myself wishing I could have a baby of my own.
And why do you feel that way? You are only 13, far from being an adult. Why not just enjoy the rest of your childhood?
I guess you don't understand how empty my heart feels. You and Mother Lucy have each other, and likewise, Debbie and Carrie have each other, and you are so happy. And I have no one.
Oh, Vicky. I guess it is easy to forget how terrible your life was before you came to us. But Lucy and I have tried to love you as much as we possibly could.
Yes, and I appreciate everything you do for me. But I still want either a baby or a boyfriend. Maybe both.
Vicky, your feelings are totally natural, and maybe if we were living in the days of cavemen, you would be ready to be a mother now. But in this modern society, not so much. Lucy and I had Carrie when we did because we were adults and were financially prepared to be mothers. We had our own home and our own jobs to support a child. You don't. But maybe you could set up a babysitting service. Or even work in the church nursery on Sunday mornings. When you get older and finally have a baby, you and that child will be happier because you waited.
And what about a boyfriend? I have asked several boys my age if they would date me, and none seem interested. And the ones that are interested in me are much older and remind me of the ones that used to.
You know. I see. Let's not dwell on that.
So what are we looking up? A dating service?
No. Dating services on the internet are notoriously unreliable, full of perverts and gold diggers. I'm looking at a database of people that are listed as HIV positive, like you. Indeed, you are on this list. Look. So your best chance for a boyfriend is to find someone you have something in common with. Since you were born with the AIDS virus, you don't want to give it to your future love partner, but you can hook up with someone that also has the virus. Oh, here's an option.
Well, he's good looking.
He is 15, so he is age appropriate for you. He lives in a town about 50 miles away, and his name is Paul Jenkins.
That last name sounds familiar.
Indeed, it is also the last name of your English teacher. I wonder. Carla, do you know a teenage boy named Paul Jenkins? Yes. He is my nephew. He was born to my little sister when she was only 16. She was a chronic troublemaker and she became addicted to drugs. She also contracted the AIDS virus and transmitted it to Paul before he was born. She eventually died of full-blown AIDS while she was homeless. My parents took Paul in and have been taking care of him ever since. It was watching my sister crash and burn that later drove me to join Reverend Dave Owen's Baptist cult, and to be a homophobe. In the 1980s, AIDS first appeared among the gay community in America. They were blamed for spreading the disease, and some even claimed that AIDS was a punishment from God against the gays. That's ridiculous. then no innocent children should have gotten the disease. You are right, but that was the common Christian view at the time. It was getting to know you and Lucy as real people and not the crude stereotypes I had been told about in church that made me work my way out of those prejudices that I had been indoctrinated with before. I would like Paul to meet my daughter Vicky. She is also HIV positive. She wants a boyfriend. How about we meet up in Paul's town this weekend?
Thanks for doing this. I hope Paul turns out to be a nice guy.
Me too. Carla has already gone there to meet with Paul. She also gave us directions to a cafe in Paul's town, so we will meet him there.
So what time are they coming over?
Carla said 11 a.m., so we are on time.
And there they are.
Hey, you two. And this is Paul.
Hello.
I really hope this works out for Vicky. She has had a hard life and needs someone who will love her and treat her right. And the same is true of Paul. But I read what you sent me about Vicky and I am concerned. I understand that abuse victims tend to abuse others in turn. So I am concerned she might abuse Paul, or a younger child. No, that would only happen if Vicky thought the way she was treated was acceptable. But she knows what her birth mother did to her was wrong and horrible. She is actually one of the sweetest girls I've ever known, even more so than Carrie.
I don't really know what to say. I've always been awkward around girls.
Well, we can start by having a meal together and go on from there. But I already think you are quite handsome. Are you blushing? I didn't mean to embarrass you.
It's okay. One step at a time, right? But with a girl as pretty as you, this seems easy. I'm glad my aunt convinced me to meet you.
And it seems our work is done. Let's go somewhere else so they can be alone. Sure. And maybe next weekend you can bring Paul to my house? Lucy, with Carrie, people had no problem accepting her as my daughter, but they sometimes objected to you also being her mother. With Vicky, the situation is reversed. The other day at the pharmacy, a customer overheard a conversation I was having with Vicky and interrupted it, demanding to know what business I had offering advice about birth control to a teenage girl. When I pointed out she was my daughter, I was called a liar. I came so close to punching that Karen in the face. And I'm really not that violent, but people's obsession with the issue of skin color infuriates me.
Maybe I should start taking a larger role in making decisions about Vicky's upbringing. Ever since you became pregnant with Carrie, I have always allowed you to decide most matters with her. You always seemed to know what you were doing. But since Vicky was adopted and she is African American like me, it may be my place to take over as the primary mother and you become the co-mother from now on.
From the very beginning, you were always free to add your own input about Carrie's upbringing. We have always been equal partners. You are certainly welcome to spend more time with Vicky and I am happy to take a back seat.
Are you sure we should allow this? I'm worried about how Vicky would be affected. She made clear to us that she never wants to see her birth mother again, even if she gets out of prison.
This is her uncle we are talking about. He couldn't take custody of Vicky when her mother went to prison because he had 3 children of his own, but he always remained in touch with her. I spoke with the adoption agency that we got Vicky from, and they said he was not a criminal and was not known to be a pervert, so I think Vicky will be safe. But are you okay with this?
Yes, my uncle is a good man. He was just extremely poor. He was even homeless for a while, and that's why the state of Massachusetts denied him custody of me, but he has never abused me. I want to see him. That must be him.
Hello. Are you Brad Jackson?
Yes. Is my niece Vicky here? I am eager to see her again. I just want to make sure she is all right. And I recognize you now. Aren't you Lucy Gordon?
No. I haven't been called that in over 20 years. When I got married, I became Lucy Sims. And how would you remember me?
You and your sister Victoria were always telling your classmates about Jehovah, 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 Jehovah. I got sick of that crap and tried my best to avoid you too. If you are raising Vicky in that cult, you shouldn't have been allowed to adopt her.
Relax. I quit being a witness in my late teens, though my sister is still one of them. Did you read Vicky's adoption report? I and my wife are lesbians, so we wouldn't be accepted among the witnesses anyway, but I got as far away from that toxic cult as possible.
Good. Let me see her now. You've grown so much since I last saw you. I was a little concerned when I learned you'd been taken so far away from Boston, but it seems you have a good home here.
Indeed, I am totally happy here. And how are my cousins?
They are doing great. They make good grades in school, and my son Brad Jr. even got on the honor roll last month. He will be graduating next year.
I hope to see them again eventually. I miss them.
Well, if your new mothers will allow it, I'd love to have you over for a week or so in the summer.
Do you like Italian food? I manage a restaurant called the Tuscany Tavern. We should eat there. Mr. Jackson, this is our other daughter, Carrie, and her wife Debbie Smith.
Hello. A pleasure to meet you.
And was Carrie also adopted?
No, I gave birth to her naturally after most adoption agencies at the time denied us a child because we were lesbian. It so troubled me that we were judged to be unfit for motherhood because of our sexual orientation, but someone like Vicky's mother could have a baby and then abuse her for years. Being attracted to someone of the same sex is not perversion. Being a rapist or enabling a rapist is.
And even before we adopted Vicky, people often refused to accept me as Carrie's mother because of my being black and her white. Even some of my own relatives scorned her for being white and not being raised a witness like I was.
Carrie is Lucy's daughter, and Vicky is my daughter and Carrie's sister. We are all a family because we love each other, and that's all that matters.
I am so glad to hear all that. Now let's eat.